Ever wonder why sometimes your audio mix sounds off, even when you've followed all the rules? It's a question that's haunted many a sound engineer. You've got your tracks laid out, you've balanced your levels, but something still isn't right. Those vocals that should be clear and crisp are muddled. The mix feels like it's dragging through a muddy swamp. Or maybe there's a harshness that makes you wince. One of the culprits behind these issues could be bad frequencies. But don't worry, we've got the solution. Before we dive into solutions, it's important to understand what we mean by bad frequencies. Bad frequencies, in the simplest terms, refer to sounds in your audio mix that are either too loud, too quiet, or simply out of place. These unwanted frequencies can quickly turn a flawless composition into a discordant mess. They can cause distortion, making your audio sound harsh and unbalanced. They can also create a muddiness that obscures your mix's clarity and depth. But it's not just about volume or distortion. Bad frequencies can also be those that clash with other sounds in your mix, causing unpleasant resonances or masking important details. They're the audio equivalent of a party crasher, turning harmony into chaos. Understanding these troublesome frequencies is the first step to achieving a clean and balanced mix. Now that we know what we're dealing with, it's time to learn how to remove these troublesome frequencies. The first step in removing bad frequencies is identifying them. And how do we do that? Well, it's a blend of using your ears, employing a frequency analyzer, and the necessity of good monitoring. Let's start with your ears. They're the most essential tool in your sound engineering toolkit. After all, what sounds good or bad is ultimately subjective. It's about how it makes you feel. So train your ears to pick up on frequencies that sound out of place or harsh. This isn't something that happens overnight. It's a skill that's honed over time with experience. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't come naturally at first. Next, we have the frequency analyzer. This is a visual tool that displays the different frequencies in your mix. It's like a roadmap of your sound, showing you where the peaks and valleys are. By using an analyzer, you can see where the problem frequencies are spiking and address them. For example, if there's a frequency that's too loud, it will show up as a peak on the analyzer. But remember, a frequency analyzer is just a tool. It's a helpful guide, but it doesn't replace your ears. Use it to confirm what your ears are telling you, not to make decisions for you. After all, music is a deeply human experience, and no machine can replicate that. Finally, let's talk about monitoring. This is about the equipment you use to listen to your mix. It's crucial to have a good set of studio monitors or headphones that provide an accurate representation of your sound. This will allow you to hear the frequencies as they truly are, without any coloration or distortion. So to recap, use your ears, trust but verify with a frequency analyzer, and ensure you have good monitoring. It's a three-pronged approach to identifying bad frequencies. And remember, it takes time and practice. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get it right away. With the problem frequencies identified, we can move on to the next step. Now that we have identified the bad frequencies, it's time to cut them out using an EQ. Using an equalizer or EQ is a fundamental tool in the audio engineer's toolkit. Think of it as a fine-tuned volume control that can increase or decrease the volume of specific frequency ranges within your mix. But how exactly do we use it to cut bad frequencies? First, you'll need to select the frequency you want to cut. Remember those problem frequencies we identified earlier? That's where you'll start. On your EQ, you'll find a series of sliders or knobs, each representing a different frequency band. Locate the corresponding band for your problem frequency and prepare to make some adjustments. Now, it's important to note here that precision is key. You don't want to cut too much of the frequency. If you do, you might end up removing some of the good sounds along with the bad. Instead, aim to make small, incremental cuts until the problem is resolved. It's a bit like sculpting. You want to chip away at the issue gradually, not hack off huge chunks all at once. Once you've made a cut, take a moment to listen to the mix. Does it sound better? If not, you might need to adjust the width or Q of your cut. The Q refers to the range of frequencies affected by your cut. A wider Q will affect more frequencies, while a narrower one will be more precise. Again, be careful not to overdo it. After some trial and error, you should find a balance that removes the bad frequency without damaging the overall sound. It might take some time and patience, but trust me, the results are worth it. Remember, EQ is not a sledgehammer, it's a scalpel. It's a precision tool designed to subtly shape your sound, not drastically alter it. Use it with care, and it can make a world of difference to your mix. After cutting the bad frequencies, you should already notice a difference in the mix, but we're not done yet. For harsh sibilance, a de-esser can be a great tool. Now let's dive into the world of de-essers. Essentially, a de-esser is a specialized type of compressor designed to attenuate or reduce harsh sibilance in vocal recordings. These pesky S and sh sounds can be rather intrusive in your mix, creating a piercing, unpleasant sound that can distract from the overall harmony of your audio. So, how does a de-esser work? Well, it's all about frequency detection. De-essers are set to focus on a specific frequency range, typically where harsh sibilance occurs, usually between 2000 and 10,000 Hz. Whenever the volume in this range exceeds a certain threshold, the de-esser springs into action, reducing the level of these frequencies and thus taming the harshness of the sibilance. Now, using a de-esser effectively requires a bit of finesse. It's not about completely eliminating the S and esh sounds. They are, after all, a natural part of speech. The goal is to reduce their harshness while maintaining a natural-sounding vocal. To do this, start by setting the frequency range on the de-esser to capture the problematic sibilance. Then, adjust the threshold so that the de-esser only activates when the sibilance is too harsh. Be careful not to set it too low, as this can cause the de-esser to kick in too often, resulting in unnatural-sounding vocals. Listen carefully as you make these adjustments. The changes may be subtle, but you'll notice the sibilance becoming less harsh and more balanced with the rest of the audio. You can adjust the depth or the reduction level to control how much the sibilance is attenuated. Remember, the key to using a de-esser effectively is to be subtle and precise. It's about balance, not elimination. Experiment with different settings and trust your ears. Every voice and every recording is unique, so there's no one-size-fits-all setting. But with practice, you'll become adept at taming those harsh S and sh sounds, making your mixes sound smoother and more professional. With the de-esser, we have another tool in our arsenal to combat bad frequencies. Let's recap what we've learned today. We've taken a deep dive into the world of audio mixing, specifically focusing on the challenge of bad frequencies. These are the unwelcome guests in your audio mix, creating distortion, muddiness, or harshness that can hamper the overall sound quality. Understanding their nature is a critical first step to tackling them effectively. They can be a result of various factors, including poor recording conditions, inadequate audio equipment, or even the natural characteristics of certain sound elements. Next, we learned how to identify these problem frequencies. It's not always an easy task, as they can be elusive, hiding behind the more prominent sounds in your mix. However, with careful and focused listening, along with the use of spectrum analyzers, you can spot these culprits. It's all about training your ears to detect discrepancies in the sound spectrum and using technology to confirm your suspicions. Once identified, it's time for action. Using an equalizer, or EQ, to cut these bad frequencies is a common and effective approach. The EQ allows you to manipulate the frequency response of an audio system. By reducing or cutting the levels of the problem frequencies, you can clean up your mix and make it sound more balanced. Remember, the goal isn't to completely eliminate these frequencies, but to reduce them to a level where they no longer pose a problem. We also discussed using a de-esser for harsh sibilance. Sibilance refers to the hissing sounds that can occur in vocal recordings, typically on S and ish sounds. A de-esser works by compressing the frequency range where these sounds occur, thus reducing their prominence in the mix. It's a specialized tool, but incredibly handy when dealing with vocals. In conclusion, removing bad frequencies is both an art and a science. It requires a keen ear, a deep understanding of sound, and the right tools. But with patience and practice, you can master this skill and significantly improve the quality of your audio mixes. Remember, removing bad frequencies can significantly improve your audio mix, so listen carefully, use your tools wisely, and you'll be on your way to a cleaner, more professional sounding mix.